Hey everyone, good morning. Yes, we have odds around 11:15. So we had some odds around 10:44 and 10:48, and then they kind of stalled at 10:43:44. So, and I noticed that this reduction stick right here, guys, like these two reductions, I don't know if you guys can see, they equated to 10.75 points. Can you guys hear me? Which would net us to our 69.20 22 area. So I feel like they did a pretty good job of holding 6888. They held our 60 68 68 68 66 off the report. And if you guys read the report last night, that's one of the big areas that we were supposed to hold. So we do have odds of breaking lower if they fail that area. So I'm just gonna copy paste from the report from last night. So the first major spot to hold is around 66, 71, 78. But they'd have to immediately retrace, which they did. There was not even 5 minutes, and they went right back over 78, right back over 88, busted right through 69, 68.99, 69.01. It's the neutral zone that they kept stalling, and I had some odds at 10 of taking it out. In Discord earlier, I had drawn something like this. So I basically wanted them to try taking out the 14-15 spot before 10, but they failed. So this is kind of where the volatility came back into play, and hence they took it back down to 8.8. So bottom of the zone retest at 8.887. Came back up again and tried retesting here. All the flips so far have been pretty good. The 44 is when it stalled. This was the earliest odd I had for a retest here. Then I didn't really have any odds until around now, so there's some odds around 11:08:09 to retrace. 05, I didn't really like how they retraced 05. I feel like they could have done a bit of a better job. They kind of stalled 06. You see how they closed at like 0425. They did have the follow through stick, which is good, but as long as we stay stuck neutral, this is what's going to keep reducing range. You can kind of see the range reduction stick even right now off this 15 stick. Like all of these are just to keep it back and forth. Like this right here could have easily come back, taken out 69, 10, 75, retested it, so on and so forth. So it is a little bit volatile, so I don't want to get too distracted today. Banks did a really good job from the report last night too. If anyone took those, financials were my sector of choice for today. Bank of America is actually taking out annual range right here. So if you guys were paying attention on BAC, this is an annual break right here. We're just taking out all-time highs on this structure break post earnings. And if you paid attention, you can kind of see how it's not only taking out structure break, like do you see how it kind of came back, held these midpoints? I'd watch maybe even the 11-month chart just because we're heading into November. That's a really, really, really nice flag. Okay, so BAC has some good odds of continuation from now until year end. And at the very least, probably extending 25%. I think that they already took out full range. So when I was looking at this, I figured this has odds of breaking at least 17 points or so. So I'm going to give BAC a $61 target for end of year. I think it has a pretty decent shot of doing that. And I think that would be the same thing as probably like a 1 point or 0.75 or 0.25 extension. Let me see. So are they hitting 0.25 here? Yeah, they are. I didn't check the 10-month, but I don't think the 10-month was flagging on this. I know that this one had a bit of a continuation off the smaller time frames, like when we watched this way back, like off a 3-month. I know it's on its third bar here, so that's another reason why it could maybe continue until end of year, but I really, 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 really like the 11-month chart on this one, because this could have a multi-year continuation, especially if we see rates change a bit next year. So just something worth paying attention to. Yeah, still kind of reducing in range here. There were some more odds that opened up closer to like what 11, 21, and 24, but my thoughts were if they keep this stuck beneath the neutral zones past 12, 12.30, this is where volatility could start increasing, because anywhere in between this area here, you definitely could have some odds of volatility, but at least they're now holding above 8.8. So at least we're starting to make some structural progress here. So 8.7, 8.8, 90, 9.1, 9.9. This is a good point in time that they held. So you see how we had this flip at 11.08, 11.09? You guys listening? See that structural flip at 11.08, 11.09? Right here. This is where you'd want to sustain. Okay, this is a really good structural hold right here at this point in time. But it becomes pretty important that you break this 14 wall. 14 is a really big wall. What do you mean 1.68? I don't even know what that means. LLY getting a really good range break. Someone in the chat was asking about this one. I did mention it yesterday with these points here, but I'll kind of recap that real quick. This one's breaking off. Oh yeah, we have that on the weekly report. Like really quickly on this one, it's kind of coming back to a midpoint range. I don't know if you guys can see that. Usually when things come back to a midpoint, like right here, they can almost always come back and take out the high range. So I just measured the very base of that 4-month period. Do you see this? Are you guys listening? So this period started September through January. Okay. It's just a very, you can replicate this exact chart if you guys want. Okay, this is the 4-month clearance here. Do you see this? So September 25th when it held structure, September 4th or August 26th. You see how it never came back down this range in September during that 4-month period when that candle opened? This is a clear trade right here. Typically when you clear like that, you can almost always recapture the high range. So when I was watching this, I decided to apply. Can one of you guys let me know if ES breaks? Actually, let me just reset this. I thought I had this set, but I don't think I do. I decided to just look at it from the midpoint right here. Do you see this? So from like basically the all-time high candle off that 11-month range or 4-month range. Okay. Do you see this? These are the overheads. So it's close to like 867, 873.64 or so. And I think breaking these odds, especially during earnings. Oh wow, PFE getting a really good structure break here. I did take this one long today. Okay, sorry. Thank you for mentioning that one. Let me go back to my positions. 1 second. Because I did have a sell order and I want to make sure that that doesn't trigger. Hold on. Holy. Yeah, so we did, I did Pfizer. I can't say we. I tried Pfizer off that 24-23, so this was really good. Pfizer is in an area where I think they just had news too that they're going to compete with a weight loss drug. Yeah, they are. 7.3 billion offer. That's insane. And I think it could just be a good sympathy play for LLY, like a less expensive sympathy play. Okay. I think that's it. I don't have anything else to cover. That's what I traded today. If anyone cares. These are the stocks I like. Yeah, LLY could be a really good one though. If this thing takes out that A73, this could easily come back to easily 1,000. Because this, if this takes out that, what, taking out this area here can give it a retest of 972, 957 easily, and then likely give it like an extension of 25%. So, and I'll show you a trick here. This could be the extension range. Usually the extensions above highs are almost always the differentials between the ranges beneath. Like, see this kind of offset right here? This could easily be the range that is given from these high breaks, or even off like the lower highs. Do you see what I'm saying? You could just use this as the offset, or apply 1.25, whatever makes more sense for you, which basically takes it to $1,000 off these lower highs. This area here should be set for at least like a retest of this range in here off that 873. Do you see that? This is off the 873. So at the very least it would give it an odd of retesting here. So 955.57. That would be a big range on this one. I don't trade LLY that often, so I'm not super familiar with how it trades. Like, I've only traded it maybe a few times, but I do know that it's quite volatile, and sometimes premiums can be a little bit expensive. All right, let's go back to ES here. So ES still stalling. You guys know that we're at huge risk if we lose this area today, right? If they take this out, they're going to easily take this back to the channel. We're going to go right back down here. So, and we almost always are in a channel or a zone before major releases. So I would obviously rather they keep it in this zone and try getting it back to this area here. We hit our overnight targets. Did you guys read the report last night or no? Who here read the report? Who read the report from last night? Yeah, did you see where they stalled? Did you guys see where they stalled on this thing? It was insane. So, wait, how do I go? Okay, can you guys see? So these were the major overheads in the 50s. Because I figured, you know what? There's actually a big wall in these 50s first. When I was looking at this. And it's actually pretty insane. Because 53.75 was the big wall that I noticed. Like, there was a lot of range around 49.50, 52, 50.50. But the big area was that 53.75. That's 88 points from the week. Okay, and remember how I said yesterday market's working in a 44 to 88 point metric based on what I'm seeing? Did you guys see where it stalled? It stalled right at that point. That's insane. So, and look at how it sold off from there. So that means we've tagged 88 points on the week and then reversed all the way back. So, that being said, something that really stands out to me, okay, when I'm looking at this from like a wider angle of things, because they didn't take out, do you see what I'm saying? Because they didn't take out that range low, okay? You guys paying attention? Where is that high? Okay, right. This is off. Oops. 53.75. Okay, that hit exactly 88 points. And then this right here, you see how they stalled 85.75? It's not just that we held core areas. Do you know what really stood out to me right here today? Take a guess. And why did it delete those flips? Yeah, I saw that too. Google is one of the best ones that we had for. Meta actually held up okay this morning. I haven't checked it again. I was busy looking at the financials and healthcare names, but I noticed it held this exact range down here, so. Google hit our exact target last night of 299.66 and then pulled. So that's the big overhead on this thing here. A break above that is what takes it to 305. So what do you guys think stands out based on what they did here? They held core, which is good. They held 6668. What else did they do though? Yeah, well, these are annual all-time highs, so I wouldn't be surprised if it stalled first and then came back. Plus, yields pulled back a little bit too. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick break until you guys answer that question. Give me a detailed answer. What stands out on this 88 point break? Okay, I'm gonna get some water and make coffee, and I'll be right back. And you guys hopefully will at least have some sort of answers because we calculated the exact stall. Okay, why is that area so important? What could this imply? Specifically, if they break us back up over 69, 14, 15, 17 before mid-session. Mid-session's around 11:30, 11:40, sorry, 12:40, 12:44, 12:48, 1, 1:30. So we still have about an hour to an hour and a half to see if they can get us cleared back over there. Otherwise, we're going to be back at major risk beneath here. That's actually insane that no one even tried, and there was 50 people watching. Not one single person tried. That's actually crazy. 1136 had a break back beneath 99. Remember what I was saying earlier? They have to kind of sustain this range here in order to have an odd of coming back and clearing that 6912, 6913, 14 spot. They essentially do have until mid-session to clear this area, which is closer to past 1230. But that being said, we stay at risk as long as we're beneath 6914, 15. Yes, back testing 6888. Remember, if we fail these areas a second time here, there is no way that they're going to hold 68, 66, 68, 68. They'll probably take this back to the means and potentially the channel. So sustaining above 88 is pretty vital, especially at this point in the day ahead of 12 o'clock. We'll see if they can immediately negate this and try retracting back up. Otherwise, risk remains in play for the session today. Where did my Pfizer chart go? Looking for PFE to take out that 2455 range. This is what could give it that nice break to 2463. The bigger area that I'm looking for on this name is closer to 2592, 2593, 2589. I'm not sure if they'll get it there today. Maybe you could roll out into next week, but that's kind of the bigger spot that we're aiming for on this one. So close to that 26 mark, 2588 to 2590s is what I'm targeting on Pfizer, especially on a break of these areas here. This would be the first area that you could look to cover. I just want to see what kind of volume or liquidity they get around this range here. Yes, basically hovering the 20 or the 68.87, 68.88 mark. We'll see if they can try defending this area. There's still some not aggressive sells here, but it's starting to accumulate. So they need some really good sticks back up, kind of like what we had back here at 1030, 1029. I'd imagine they need something quite similar around that 1045, 1048. Otherwise, they're going to come back and back test these lows. Yeah, those are also aligned with weekly open, and weekly Monday real-time open was 8-3. We'll see if they can try to negate during this period though. They need some pretty aggressive sticks here if they are going to try to negate this, but I'd say at least back over like 9-4. Gold getting back over 4K. I think we have a Fed speaker this afternoon too at 1 or 1:15. Can you guys vote on this real quick? Just because the 48 through 50 and 12 o'clock odds are coming up right here, and this is a really big spot, and they could easily still try holding. I know it doesn't look very good, but if they really want to try protecting this and just keeping things a little bit sideways until earnings after the bell, they could try holding here and coming back and retracting, even back to like 68.99, just to kind of keep zone ranges in play. Can you guys vote on that? Otherwise, you're going to be back at risk of coming back and obviously retesting these low ranges here. That being said, they need some really big sticks to get us back into a relatively safe, this isn't really a safe area. Anywhere in this bear zone is not safe. But thumb stalling 69.14 Neutral range is keeping us at major risk here. So they need at least back over 9.4, 9.9. Just to at least try retracting back into somewhat of a neutral state. Otherwise, they're still going to be stuck into this bear zone here into the mid-session. So I am curious to see what you guys think. Premiums, I think, are starting to decay a little bit now, too. So with the sideways price action, so just be mindful of that, guys. There's a lot of really good individual names to trade today, so maybe focus a bit more on that. Thanks for the point contributions. I'm going to watch the 5.554 period here, too. I just want to see if they at least try holding the line off this 50. You see how they came back and retracted 8.8? Final seconds here. This still isn't really strong enough, though. This, like, at the very least, it needs back over, like, at least 9.4. Pfizer getting a nice break over that 55 with some better clearance this time. I'm looking to see if I can take out that 6.3. Because this is what could send it on its way to that 24.79, 25 mark. Really good sticks here on Pfizer on that break, if anyone tried this trade. This is also a really nice cup and handle trade, guys, on PFE. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it shoot straight up to these points here. Sorry, this is like the worst drawing ever. Hold on. And there's volume building up here too off this 24.63, so that's good. Yeah, still kind of stuck sideways around 8.6, 8.7, 8.8. If anyone tried these calls, those calls already more than doubled off those entry points between 2.5 and 30. They even had some okay entry points too around that 35 to 40 mark. right, let's see here if they can give any sort of relative strength between 5-5. Oh. Lily getting a really clean break here through that 851 spot if anyone's trading this name. 851 break on LLY. 853 is an overhead. I don't have it marked, but it's around 853.27, I think, is the spot that you can mark on your charts. Oh, healthcare name's getting a pretty good move. I didn't really check, but I think Johnson & Johnson was moving too. So was, not ABBB, what's the other one? MRK. MRK actually had a pretty good move. Alright, let's see if 55 can get some sort of strength here. I think 9-4 would be best, but if it doesn't have that much momentum, even closer to like 9-3 would be okay. This is just so it at least gives it some odds of getting back to 9-9 or 6-8, 9-8 before 12. Where do they stall here? 9-2? Okay. Well, I think because 5-4 is sustained but delayed, they could maybe try off the 5-6 stick. The goal here is just to see if they can at least come back and reclaim this area here before 12. Okay, guys? I know it doesn't seem likely because of the kind of structures we have here and the failures, but you guys understand risk to reward, right? Yes, everyone here understands risk to reward and how to measure trades. How high is the risk beneath 8-8 or 6-8 at this point? Especially ahead of mega cap names reporting today. How high is the risk if they lose that? Bank of America getting some volume here, guys, ahead of this retest of those annual highs. How high is the risk, guys, if they give this up today before the bell? Huge risk. We can go all the way back to 68.38, 68.44. Okay, that's a pretty big drop, right? So you have to kind of think about it from a risk to reward perspective. So, and then the metrics and dynamics that are included. So even though from a structural basis, this looks pretty bearish, right? Because they stalled the 14 area. They came back to 88. They brought it back once again, made a lower high right here. But from a logical perspective, they have to still try. And they could, what's one reason that could work in favor for bulls? What's one thing that bulls still have on their side? Don't get this wrong. Whatever you do not get this wrong. Try your best to get this right. What's one thing that bulls still have working in their favor, even though this looks pretty nasty in terms of structure? Yeah, they still have some time, right? So ideally, by what point in time? Don't just read off the chart. Come on. But 9,450 stalling there. $24.70 testing here on Pfizer. I think 79 is the overhead area that we were looking for. Well, just logical sense. What point in time is your mid-session for the session for real time? You should always be paying attention to mid-sessions in general, especially in terms of risk. Because right now we're basically still at a 50% range in risk for real time in terms of where they're sustaining, where they're stalling. Especially off these lower highs. Okay, so if you're not even back above here before 12, which happens to be aligned with the zone, like this is pretty common sense. So these lower highs right here, they should align, especially right between mid-session here. Like 6888, that's the zone area. You definitely don't want to be trading like beneath this range in here, especially by 12, because then you could start your hourly session back testing this area down here versus back like retesting this upside range up here. So structure so far looks pretty bad. But they still closed above 8.7, so I mean this is kind of a tricky spot for in terms of the zone theory, because this is based also off 50% of the range off these lower highs, which happens to align with our 8.788. So we'll see if 12 o'clock can at least try to sustain and get, we usually have like a 5-minute window in terms of some retracements. Oh. I didn't have it marked, but I just put it as an alert because this is roughly the midpoint between these ranges here, so I figured it might stall there between here and here. Do you see that? So it probably needs a break over 7.1. We're giving ES about a 5 to 7 minute window here to see if it can come back and try retracting or retesting this 9.4 area. 9.450 is the spot that I wanted it to break. It did stall off the 5.6 stick. I'm just going to set an alert at 9.3. 9.2. So you need way better sticks this time. That's a way better 204 stick. Okay, are you guys paying attention? Listen really closely here. Look at the 54 or 55. 54, do you see this? Remember how I said earlier 54 never had really good strength, which reduced the odds of clearing 94.50? Look at the difference this time between 04 and 54. okay? Which gives really good odds for 05 because we have that 5-minute window to come back and retract or retrace 99. Does that make sense? Kind of like this. 68.95 being broken here, which can really help odds in terms of coming back into the neutral zone. I gave ES about a 5 to 7 minute window past 12 o'clock only because we still closed above 8.7. Even though we didn't really close above 8.8, I think 8.7 was still okay in terms of range. This puts a lot of pressure between 12.05 and 12.07. At least we got the 9.450 break. Good morning. All right, how many think they'll clear 9.9 here in 2 minutes? Is that enough to put this in a safe state for mid-session before 12:30? What do you guys think? Is this kind of break right here enough to keep this in a safe state for the last, for the, what is this? Six, 8, 9, 850 being tested here. Come on, you guys. What do you guys think? Is this enough to keep it relatively safe? No, I'd say no, it's not. So you need, I would say at least over 9.1 or 0.1. You know why? Because I didn't like that they even breached this much range there. Like I would say you need at least 3.75 above 9.9, okay? And usually we don't, or above 9.8, but I think getting back to like 69.02, 69.0250, 69.03 during these points in time can help us reduce risk immensely. Does that make sense? Especially off like the 9.8, 9.9 range. Like I think we need at least back closer to like this area in here just to reduce the risk a little bit. 1207 testing 689950 stalled at 6900.25. Izzy thought that we needed to get back at least over 6899. Ideally close above that price point at this point in time just to reduce our risk for the second half here before 12:30. We'll see if we can get some continuation through 1207, 1208, 1210, 1212. Is this helping you guys? This was a very hard call to make that they were going to hold here, but I knew based on the dynamics, they can't just let that go. There's no way that they're going to drop this right here and drop it all the way back here because that would have implied taking it all the way back here. Okay, they're not going to do that, especially when they know that they have too much on the line. What do they have on the line today? Thanks, Euro. So you guys could have tried a long off 8.8 if you wanted to, or 8.7 with a stop. Yes, they have ER on the line. And what else? What else do we have today? What else is today? Okay, we know it's earnings. What else is today? Hello. What else is today? Okay, maybe this will make it easier. What's tomorrow? Yes, it's the day before month end. Today's the final candle close for all October 31st flips. Okay? So we have month end on the line here. Okay? And it's a pretty important month end for us. Well, yeah, it's not just that. Like Boulder, it's knowing the risk to reward. Do you know what I'm saying? Like risk to reward. Like if you don't understand that concept in trading, you will never make money. Okay? So you have to understand that. That's why I was so mad when I got back and no one answered that question. Like, what did they do off lows? What did they do here? There's two things that they did. We did technically test 695375, did we not? It's not like we didn't test it. We did test it. That's the big overhead, correct? We tagged it. We didn't clear it. We sustained, write this down, 88 points. We made a higher range above 88 points on the week. Does that make sense? Off. What area? What area is this area here above this line? What is this range right here? This white box. What are these areas here? Let's maybe look at Fluffy's template. What are these areas here? Yeah, these are core ranges. What kind of range can core areas usually trigger? Core to core. Okay, so where did we stall in the morning, pre-market? We stalled our 2-9, our 3-1 range, right? These are core ranges here, correct? That's where they kept stalling. Okay. Could we not have a core to core break? And it keeps resetting us to go back to where they opened close for real-time sessions. Around 69.20s, 69.30s. What else could this mean? If they end up holding here, and this ends up being the lows on the week, and we already broke an 88-point range, we hit an 88-point range, what could this mean for us? I'm not sure if we'll get 132 points, but that's 132 to 133 points is kind of like the next offset here. Usually you can get like 94, 95 points. Those are incremental thirds, which is around that 5859. I feel like that's probably, if they take out 53, I feel like they're going to probably stall the 50s and 60s, but usually you can get at least 107 points, which is core ranges. But the idea here is they could basically take this to a core area, or they could take it to a new zone. If we look at it from like the actual opening ranges, there's more alignment with core spots. Do you see this? So off of the actual open, 6.9. That's a core spot. And 88 points. 70, 7.1. These are all on the report. Do you see what I'm saying? That would be a core-to-core move. Where they actually closed in real time the other day, around the 2.7, 2.9, 2.5 spots, those are 44-point breaks. Okay? So do we have some odds to bullish engulf today? Or an outside bar? The odds are not super high right now, but they could be if, and 69.17 was one of our first major overheads. Okay. If you align it from here, this should be aligned pretty closely with the 22 spot off 8788. Do you see this? When would we have to break this range by, you think? To give a... So if we break 50%, you'd have to break it by 50% of what? Time, okay? Right? So when would be the best point in time to break that? Obviously mid-session, right? If we can get a retest of 14. 14 is the top of the neutral zone. Hence they stalled there. Right here. This is the top of the neutral zone. This is the bull neutral zone here around 17, 15. Okay. So if they can get this area cleared by mid-session, do we have an odd of retesting overnight highs? And maybe getting 6.7, or sorry, 6.9, 6.8, 7.1. I'm not sure if they'll get that today, but those were my final targets on the week. If they were able to, I guess, report good earnings, because a lot of it's obviously relative to what the big names do today after the bell. Are those big enough names to move the index 50 points, you think? $69.05.75 stalling here. Yeah, they can, right? So a lot of it's going to be relative to where they reset. So yesterday we had a pretty good close in real time. Not the best close for the actual session though, but I was right about us getting back to 2.2, 2.5, 2.8 into the close, right? And then they stalled the channel again. So this was an issue. They brought it back to 69.06. Remember we did this little exercise yesterday where I said if they don't close this above the 22-25 area at a minimum and they take it back to 06 or 99, we'd be at risk of coming back to these areas here at 6.6, 6.8, which is exactly what they did. We've had so much back and forth, but honestly it makes sense. This back and forth makes sense. I'm not surprised by any of this, especially because they stalled 5.375. And I said in the report, if we stall 5.375, they can literally take this back to 6.8, 6.9, 7.1. Okay, but if they hold 6.8, 6.9, 7.1, they can take it back to 2.2, 2.5, 2.9. It's kind of like a rinse and repeat. The market almost always, if you guys can remember this one thing, they almost always, I back tested this. I went, I think 8 years back. They almost always, okay, hold it in a channel or a zone before these major things, because I created this theory for these zone areas are supposed to help you predict direction of price, okay? Price action before a major event, okay? An area to digest before a major event, this channel area. So you have to think about the logic. If they're gonna fail here, they're not gonna just stay here. They have to take it back here, right? So do they really want to take it all the way back down here, you think? Technically speaking, they could have, right? If they wanted to cap out range on the week, because we have yet to digest that area. And that would basically take us back to 128, 132 point range, right? Back to 68.22, 68.25. 115 is a third of 346. So like 6838. Remember how I said too, when we usually break those ranges, we usually hit 380 and then around 410. We just hit that 410 off that higher low. This is 380. I mentioned this yesterday. They almost always do this. Off the closing price points, we're kind of stalling 300 points here. Okay. What do you guys notice right here? Let's say off this higher low. Where do they keep opening and closing? Do you see that? This 14-15 spot? These are the 343, 346 point ranges. So this is actually kind of insane. So this is, I know this is gonna be like a bit overwhelming, but just listen, okay? If they take out 69.17 today, okay, that's also 346 points off our higher core area, okay, of 7.1, like the 6.571. Okay, that's also going to be 50% of the range from yesterday's session. Okay, and if they do it by midpoint in session, then we have odds to expand. And we're basically working with these dates right here. Okay. What's your next increments that you work with? What's 346 times 2? We're working with August 1st. What's 346 by 2? On an open close ratio, we're approaching month end close. How many points is that? 343 by 2. 346 by 2. Yeah, so around like that 688, 692, 696, okay? From an open close perspective, we're hitting half of that range, okay? So we still have, remember how I said we could hit 1,370, like we can basically still hit points on the year off August 1st ranges, okay? Because they basically already sustained an annual range from here, okay? I'm only going to recap this once, but do you see this? Do you see this? Okay, so these odds right here, if they break these areas off this opening or closing candle, do you understand that this also would take out half of annual range? Which is really huge, because this means that we still have odds of getting, I said that we could probably do 3/4 of this, but if they actually did fully break that, this is how we could still have these areas in play for the remainder. I said into Q1. I didn't think that we could do it for 2025, but up until March, these areas could still be in play, right? Or at the very least, for this year, a 346 point range, 7,300. Okay, maybe a 256 point range, which is the 7210s, 20s. When this is unadjusted, this is more aligned. So unadjusted, this should be closer to that 1379, 1380. Let's just double check this. I think when this is unadjusted, it's a little bit more accurate. So let's see. Let me just delete this fib and this. Okay, so when this is unadjusted, we still have some range left, right? Do you see where these ranges are? It takes us to that new zone. Do you see it? It takes us to that 6988, 6999. These are all in the report, but it's just so that you guys can understand it from that kind of range perspective. Whereas if we're looking at it from here, from these recent lows, okay, or open close, usually when you break beneath 346, you usually hit around 325, 330. It's the same thing on the upside. It's about, there's usually a 25 to 30 point buffer, kind of like how you can get the 380 point ranges there. And do you see why holding these areas in real time? This is why I wasn't too concerned that they failed beneath 8.7, because technically They just have to kind of hold here around 12. Do you see that? This is 346 points, guys, for this 12 mid-session. Okay? 3, 4, 6. Okay, and then if we look at it from closing range, or this is why there's a lot of emphasis on breaking 9-8. Okay. And then again, like we said, off those higher low ranges, this is why it's pretty important that they bring this back over 14. That's the 4-3. Do you see this? This is 343 points off that 7-1. And then obviously off of 4-6, it's going to be the 17, which also ends up being, like we said, 50% of yesterday's range. So what's the big overhead that we have to clear this afternoon? And it's pretty obvious. Once they clear this, it's quite obvious. And you don't get this wrong. If you guys actually got this wrong, I'd be pretty annoyed. What's the big spot that we have to clear during mid-session today? Ideally before 1. Even though we can break after 1, I'd prefer we don't, just because we have a Fed speaker at 1:15. What's the point in price and time? This also happens to be my bull neutral spot. What do we have to break? Give me the conditions. You guys are in charge of the trade right now. Give me those afternoon conditions. Pfizer getting some sell side here. Some pretty big liquidity. Almost 300K. Give me the afternoon conditions, guys. Come on. This is so calculated. Look at how they're stalling 06. Why are they stalling 06? They're waiting for what? What are they waiting for? Yeah, if they can break this area, though, ahead of 12:30, this is going to really help our odds. I want to see some 69.06 breaks around 12:28, 12:29 as we approach our mid-session here. I want to get back above 69.06 to be in that neutral zone. Neutral zone is between 69.06 to 69.14. We stalled 69.13.75 this afternoon. The earlier we can clear this range in here, the higher the odds are of coming back and taking out our all-time high in today's session, okay? What's our big overhead? What do we have to take out? What's the big spot? And that's going to help us determine just how much range we'll get on the session. What's the big spot that we have to take out? This is a really good long off 8-8. Nope, that's not the big spot. What's the big spot that we have to take out that I just spent half an hour talking about? We could take out 14 and still come all the way back down. What's the big spot that we have to take out? You guys are terrible listeners. Oh my god. 17. 17. 17.25. Okay? 17. What point in time would be best to take that range out? I want to see if they can get those 6906 breaks here off 1230. Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be before 1230. I'd say it has to be before 2. We're getting some range reduction here on that stall of 6907 or 6906. I think that's probably close to where this lower high hit, around 6910, 11. There's going to be a lot of back and forth today, especially with these small reductions and stalls. Even back here, I would have still preferred that they tested 02, 50, 03. Mid-session is usually between, I usually just say 1230 to like 130, but like the more accurate points are usually around 1244, 1250, 1248 through 148. So ideally you always want to before 2. So technically speaking, we still have a lot of time, but it's still good to monitor what happens around 1230, 1236. Do you get what I'm saying? So them stalling 6906 neutral zone at 1230, that's not a good sign. Okay, so I can already tell based on this that they're already compressing range. They're already reducing range. Do you get what I'm saying? Because had they cleared here by 1229, 1228, these ranges here would have been probably the spots they would have tested. They would have probably already retested highs as early as 1230. Do you see what I'm saying? They would have retested 6912. Sometimes they do that though and pull it back if they know that their odds were low of actually clearing it. So if the range only implied getting back to 6912, 17, then they'll pull back. But this is already implying that they're trying to reduce range on the session today. Because now they can delay this all the way till past 1 if they want to. Because we haven't been back in it, we're not in the neutral zone yet. We need to be back above 6906 to even have an odd of testing 6914, 6912. So earliest condition of getting back into the neutral zone by 1230 so far stalled. We do have that Fed speaker at 1:15, so I'm just going to mark that so I don't forget. I don't think we have any auctions this afternoon. Pfizer stalling a bit after, or selling off a bit after stalling that 70 spot. There was some sell side volume that came in. There could also be just some accumulation here too, I would think. EOS coming back to that 94 wall that we had earlier. We'll see if they can try holding off 94, 93 this time. Does that make sense, guys? So like if let's say they held here, right? That was okay, that wasn't great. But they at least tested here. This is the 5-6 point offset, okay? And we're about 5-6 points offsetting here. This is 5-6 points offsetting this low to this low here, okay? Are you guys with me? So meeting this condition before 12:30 at least keeps that odd open, okay, till 1. Maybe odds will be better though after 1. So maybe actually I should ask you guys, what would help our 1 p.m. conditions since 12 o'clock kind of sucked? Where would you want to close at a minimum by like 12:59, you think? Just to help our odds a little bit more. We had that 5-minute window here, but where would you want to close around 1 p.m. just to help our odds a bit more for the 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. period? Come on, you guys. Yeah, I would say at least 9,850, 9,9, right? Because then at least you have an odd of avoiding the zones. Okay, so very dumbed down question. Where do you want to avoid after 1 o'clock? You obviously want to avoid here, okay? You don't want to be anywhere near there after 1 o'clock. Does that make sense? And 12 o'clock, our odds already kind of sucked because they took us at the minimum, which is 8788. But obviously we would have been better off if we stayed above this red line here. Does that make sense? So resetting your conditions for 1 o'clock, this testing here at before 12:30, this helped your odds to decrease risk of breaking this, okay? But at the very, very least, you'd want at least to close above 9.9 before 1, okay? Because then at least at that point, your next zone odds are between here. Does that make sense to you guys? Do we still have odds of retesting 6906 before 1? I couldn't find my NQ template yesterday. Yeah, they do, if they can break this by our mid-session, which is now, right? Oops. 68.99, retesting here right at 12:45, just in time for mid-session. Mid-session odds of retesting and reclaiming 6905 as early as 12:48 could be back in play, which could still set us up for a retest of 6914 before 1 o'clock here. If they want to keep this a little bit stuck, they can also just keep it sideways in this range, this area here, like beneath 6906 but above 98, which is also okay. I would prefer that they take it a bit higher though. Oh, do they have odds of taking out these highs this time? Oh no. What is he tweeting? What do they tell him? Hey Trump, it's mid-session, go tweet. Like, is that what they say to him? Like, hey, it's 12:45, 12:48. We're hitting U.S. real-time mid-session, so go put something out there. And we're right at 68.99, so that's pretty freaking hilarious. Because that's the minimum condition that has to be met by 12:59, or at this midpoint session at this point in time. Oh, maybe he can give us the stick break that we need. He doesn't watch the market. Yeah, okay. Like what? This is the 4-8 stick, right? I want to see if we can take out 9-9. Oops. Are they okay to do nothing during this period here too? They don't really have to push it up. They just have to make sure that they at least get a better closing point for the next hourly duration. Closing above 9.9 means you're closing in a neutral zone. The neutral zone is between 68.99 to 69.14, okay? So your odds of actually retesting or clearing 06. The thing is we weren't even at an advantage with where they closed us at 11:59 and 12 o'clock, but they still tested 07 or 0575. That's actually still good that they tested this. Because had they not tested this, then our odds would have decreased. We probably would have come back tested here. What could help us right now, too? This offset right here of 1.5 points could really help us. Okay, so if they come back and maybe take out this range here, okay, or if they, the differential in the range that we broke, 5.75 points. Do you see what I'm saying? Could take out this mid structure. Okay, or we could get a 5.75 point break. I would be shocked if this doesn't equate to 17. It should. Yeah, it does. Okay, so this higher low structure right here off the closing points should equate to like the 1675 and 17.25, 17.50 spot. That's the offset that they gave right here between here. Does that make sense? So this could help us get to our 17 spot. With the condition that they at least close above here. This is why they're, do you see how they're keeping this so tight right now? After 12:45, look at where they brought it at 12:45, right at 9.9. Isn't this insanely calculated? We just don't want them, like, if they close it closer to, like, 9.4, 9.3, 9.2, 9.6, like, it's not bad, but it's not great. That's still going to keep this 8.8 at risk for the 1 p.m. period, okay? Do we really want to take on that risk into the 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. period, especially if we have a Fed speaker on? Probably not. Where do you guys think they'll close this at 12:59? They could also still bring this back to 8.8. That would be the worst case scenario. Give me a number for 12:59 close. This is a little bit more constructive because at least this time they actually are holding 9.3, 9.4 after 12:45. But remember back in here, we didn't really want to lose that, and they did. So this becomes pretty vital at this point now that they actually try holding this 9.3, 9.4 mark. What? No. Oh, this is where you think they're going to take it to. I would say yes if they fail 9.3 and they don't retract 9.650 by 12.54. Then there's a possibility. If they want to keep this kind of conflicted, they would probably close it closer to like 9.3, 9.4. Like they would do it above 8.890, but beneath 9.8. So like anywhere between 9.2 to 9.7 is extremely conflicted, okay? This can still keep semi-risk on. See the 9.3 hold here? See the 12.53 retrace? 96 retracing here. See if 12.54 can bring it back above 9.8. Does watching this make you realize how constructed the market is, even if you're watching it on a minute-to-minute basis? So what we fail to do at this point in time is, remember earlier I said if we fail 9.2, 9.3, or 9.3, 9.4, they could come back, retest 8.8. Is this more progressive or constructive this time than it was back here, you think? What do you guys think? 9.8 retested here at 5.4. Yes, Izzy, this is more constructive because we held 9.3, 9.4. Great. Thank you guys for listening and answering. We also retraced 9.8. We also sustained 8.8. An even better close at this point in time would be what they failed to do off 12.07, which was get that break of 02. I don't know if they're going to do that. I figure they'll probably just close it close to 9.9. But if they did do something like that, that would help our odds even more because it'll give us an odd of clearing 06 immediately after that 1 o'clock flip. So if they close it somewhere close to here, this is going to help our odds even more. It'll be like the same offset between here that the conditions that they failed to meet right here. And the conditions that they failed to meet right here was closing above or testing 0250, remember? And it could just be the same offsets here. It's like those 5.75 offsets. So I think they could close, even though we need a minimum of 689899. I think they could actually try closing 690250. That's my guess. Okay. And it would be a reset of this 1207 condition that wasn't met. Give me your numbers, guys. U92, 88. Give me more numbers. You guys have 2 minutes. Yes. I did say watch oil names today because they could see some relief with banks off the report. XOM had a pretty good retracement back too. They're already reducing range here at 57 because they know they don't require anything more than 9899. Come on, guys, 1 more minute. Put some guesses in. This reduction in range might be the reason why they don't close here, though, because this is probably the offset 93. That's a good guess. I'm just going to mark that 207 candle because I do think that this is what's being correlated with this point in time right now. So that 6900.25 makes sense because those are the conditions that were delayed after 12 for 1205, 1207. These are probably the areas that they want to try sustaining during this period here, so it makes sense. Are you guys seeing where they're trading this at 1259? Isn't that insane? Okay, let's see. We'll watch off the 30-second intervals here to see. This is more than enough. This is fine to be the minimum condition around 6898.50, 6899.25. This at least gives it somewhat of a better odd for the 1 o'clock duration. We do have catalyst at 1 o'clock too, so seems like they're just going to leave it at the minimum spot of 68.98, 68.99, 68.98.25. So that minimum condition is met. It's still not high enough to fully reduce risk, but still better than that 12 o'clock period. We'll also give ES that usually 104 is a generic point in time for 1 o'clock, but we're going to watch around 104, 105. And we have that Fed speaker at 115. The way that they've kept this sideways and back and forth is actually pretty impressive. This is crazy. Did you guys read this in the report? So my closing thoughts were the only odds that we have working against us is potentially staying channel and zone bound, which with odds of the lower means triggering in the 50s, so 6950s, since that area is quite calculated. This would be very similar to what happened today as we remained in the zone and channel into FOMC. These odds are heavily determined based on whether or not we can clear 6950, 6950, 275, 69, that should say 53 areas overnight, and where we can clear by US real time. And they literally stalled the 50s and they've kept us zone bound all day. That's insane. So those are the odds that are currently working against us today. And that usually results in a lot of sideways price action or back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until the point is met. What's the one issue that we have today? And this is how your option premiums could decay, which is why I was saying I would avoid the index unless you're looking at doing further dated. What's the one odd that could work against you today? Kind of like yesterday. That's why I was saying I'd be a little bit careful. They might move it into the close, but off 8-8. What's the one odd that's working against us today? If, let's say, you're trading same day. What have you guys noticed after 12 o'clock? So mid-session, okay, let's say after 12 o'clock. What did you guys notice here? Well, let me just mark the zone. What do you guys notice after 12? Okay, this is the zone. This is where they're stalling. What do you guys notice after 12 o'clock? Hi, Adam. What are they doing here after this period? What have they done so far, anyway? This is after 12. This is 12. This is the 105 stick. So similar windows that we had there earlier. They've tried their best keeping it zone bound throughout the 12 through 1 o'clock period. 105 getting a structural break back beneath that 87, 88. This is where risk really starts to increase on the session today. Especially considering they stalled 05, 75 and then couldn't quite clear back over 99. I had shared some of those charts this morning. I shared Coke, IBM, Pfizer. I shared most of these this morning. They were just some decent alternatives to trading the index today. I don't see any headlines. Did you guys see anything? What kind of session is this, guys? And we can tell that's the case based on what they did just before 12:30 and just before 1:15 and 1:30 here. What kind of session is this? I can already tell based on what they did between 12:30 and what they're doing now between 12:31 and what they could be doing between 1 and 1:30. And where they stalled right at that neutral zone. What kind of session is this? Also where they're sustaining. No. This is a pinnable type session. Likely pinnable in the zone, which is what would make the most sense before numbers after the bell, but there still is some risk here with them failing to sustain this kind of range right here. You can call that sideways action choppy action. I don't really care what you guys call it, but usually this is pinnable price action. especially if they have to limit range. Because they know if they break a specific spot that it could get really wide breaks. Kind of like if they know they break this area here, it could get a really big breakdown, right? If they break this 69, 14, 17 area, it could get a really big break up. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you guys understand that concept? It should be the same type of range on both sides. Like you should have very similar range on both ends, because this area triggering should, let's just go with 34 points below, okay? Or this area breaking maybe 34 points above this 17 spot. Does that make sense? We'll just go with 34 to make it easy. Does that make sense? So we have about 34 points of RR if 69.17, 69.22 breaks, or if 68.66, 68.68 breaks. Okay? So what they might do sometimes is they could keep it pinnable in between. This is probably, this area right here is where they're keeping it like sustained above, but beneath, like beneath this 12.75 or whatever, but above 7.8, this is probably the 34 points in between. Does that make sense? So maybe max risk that we can afford is 8,250, because 8,250 still links to 17. Does that make sense to you guys or no? Let's just do a very, 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 very basic dumbed down summary, okay? If we did 34 points on each end, and we know that we have risk back to the channel, which is 3.3, 3.4, okay? And we know that we have, I'm just using 34 points because it's more generic. And we know that we have overheads around 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, whatever. And we know that 17 is the big, big, big spot to break, okay? This is probably the overhead. This is probably the midpoint. So where they're stalling here, if we go back to 17, and let's say we do a 34 point range, we basically can afford risk to 8.2, 8.3. This area here. Does that make sense? This could, holding 8.2, 8.3 could still give us an odd of 17. One end basically has to break. Whereas if we look at this from here, and they want to stall these highs, let's say, at 14, we could technically afford some risk back to 7.9, 7.5, but that doesn't give us a very high odd of breaking 14. Hopefully that makes sense just from like a risk to reward perspective. So let's mark that then. Let's mark 8.3. What is that spot? 8.325, 8.350. That's a really big support then this afternoon, okay? This, can someone write this down, please? Izzy thinks if we hold around 68.83, 68.83.50, this is technically a very calculated support range that could still net us back to 69.17. We can afford risk back to 7.850, 7.925, but that would increase our odds of stalling 14 again. So let's see how much range they can retrace during our 118 through 130, 136 period. I'm just going to copy paste here. Hopefully this is at the very least helping you guys not over trade this type of session. Because I think that's also important, especially when trading the index or index options. So what do you guys think? You think that they have odds of bringing this back to 9.9, closer to that 130 period, or you think that they're going to call it quits here? I'll be right back, guys. I'm kind of hungry, but I feel like obviously have your stop set if you want, or have your contracts rolled out, or even just sit and watch this session. You definitely don't have to trade it, just to at least get an idea of how things are moving. But 8.382 hold definitely gives us odds of coming back and retesting at the very least the 68.99, 69.06 area. This keeps odds in play for 69.17 by end of session. See if they can get back to this area here, probably closer to that 130, 136 period. They have odds as early as 124, 128, but I would say probably closer to here. I can leave my screen on if you guys want, but I'm gonna be like 10 minutes. So it's up to you guys. Do you want screen on with no sound, or just turn it off and I'll be right back? You need 9.4 though, so at the very least you want back over this 9.450 probably by that 2.4. Just write the conditions down. This should help you though, knowing that this is a 34-point break from here would be 17. To me, that's super helpful. Okay, I'll be right back. My mouth is full, so I can't say much, but this is good. 69. Remember how I said they could still try this area between 124, 128? 68.99 break here ahead of 130. This maybe can give us that better reset. Remember how back in here I said it would be nice if they give us 0102? Maybe they give us 0102 off 130, 131, which could give us an odd of getting 6906. Retest here as early as 136. Only 5 of you guys voted. Come on. I even said please. Hi, Michelle. They're stalling 6,900 here. There's that 6,900 2.5 stalling, and that's that 107 condition. Isn't it crazy how that 1207 conditions just before 1, and then right again here at 130 through 136? The only shitty thing is they keep stalling and reducing range. $130 reduction stick after stalling that 6,900.25 again. 4.25 I think would have been a break over 9. See, we do need over 0250. Let's maybe make this the wall instead. Most of the at the money or out of the money premiums that would have been killed at this point. You'd have to be super in the money or trading further dated expirations. Yeah, like I said, I would use this session maybe just to observe more than anything else, just so you guys can learn a lot more about price action. This is a good session, though, to study price action and market dynamics. This range reduction stick at 130, though, is likely due to them stalling 9.9 off 29. And usually when they reduce it and keep it sideways and back and forth like this, it's because they really want to delay it till close. Which is really shitty, but... Also, where we opened today, that's a good point, Brendan. We had a really... Not a bad open, because it was still in the zone, but not a good open. We opened in the bear zone at 9.3, which kind of keeps you very much at risk and sideways. Yeah, exactly. There's the retest here at 32. So they can probably try again here by 3.6, at least to the 9.9. This looks very stuck until the close, though, is my thoughts. I don't care if they keep it stuck till the close. I just prefer that they get it out of this zone. Does that make sense? Like, if they want to keep it stuck between 2 and 3 and 3 and 330, I don't really care as long as they get it back above 6902, 6905. If they want to keep it stuck. Oh, Intel's crossing. What? Oh, Intel getting that retest of 4135, guys. This could give Intel that break back to 4158, 4163. These are really important ranges on Intel. This is setting up for that move to 45 for those that are swinging this one with me. Yeah, so like I was saying, I don't really care if they keep it stuck this afternoon as long as it stays stuck in a less risky place, right? So if they can at least get it in here, I don't really care if they keep it between here all afternoon and wait until end of day, as long as they at least get it out of this box range in here. We want it out of this area here, especially before 3. Ideally before 2, but we'll see. Do we have better odds of getting it out of this range before 3? Since we had a 68.98.25 close at 12:59 p.m. That type of close kept us still at risk of 8.8, but it at least increased our odds of getting some breaks above this range here for this next period. So that being said, you probably want maybe at least here for like the 2 o'clock period. Gold, I want to see if this can get back to this 4100 area. Okay, I'm going to mute myself again if that's okay. Yeah, exactly. Like they can push it here, but it's just to reset conditions, right? Which can, these conditions are, this up and down, up and down, up and down. You guys realize is just so that it can keep delaying odds, right? It's just so that they don't break us down, right? You guys understand that concept, right? Like them holding here, retracing here, breaking here, at this time here, stalling here, holding here, retracing here. This is all just so that they can keep it delayed and delayed and delayed and buy more time. All they're doing is buying more time. That's it. That's all they're doing. They just keep buying more time. So if they bring this back to 9-9 here before 2, they just bought more time. They just bought another hour. Does that make sense? With maybe better odds. Okay? So our risk during this period between 1 and 2 wasn't as high of risk as between 12 and 1. Okay? Due to the fact that they at least closed over 9-8. But we want our reward to be higher. So for our reward to be higher, we want to close at least over 9-9 for 159. Do you get what I'm saying? Because we want this 2 to 3 o'clock period to at least be favorable for bulls, somewhat, which is getting back into this neutral zone above 9-9. Even if they just keep it, even if the next hour is just between here, it at least can be a little bit favorable for bulls before 3 o'clock. 148 was the earliest odd for the 68.99 retest here. So let's see. This is actually, though, pretty, I don't want to say easy, but you can actually have a lot of back and forth trades off these ranges. Do you know what I'm saying? Like 8-8, 8-3, cover, 9-9, buy back, cover. You just have to be very quick. All right, let's see if we can get some 9-9 breaks. 99.25 stalling here at 47. 4849 had the earliest odds of the retest here. It's really the 6900.25 that has to break. So hopefully they can give us some structure breaks of this area here off the 148, 149 sticks. Because now we are starting to run pretty dry with time in terms of like these basic conditions being met. And I would like a better reset for the 2 o'clock period too, so. Because usually 2 p.m. has pretty good odds. Like 2 p.m. usually you can get some good range, like around 204 or 207, 212, 218. Especially around that 230 to 232 period. All right, let's see. $68.99 retesting here. Right on time for 148, 149. I want to see if they can at least give us a better reset for 2 p.m. As much as I want them to take out 69.14 like before 3, I'm just keeping my hopes a little bit, like I don't want my expectations to be too high. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I want to make sure that I'm not over fetching or something like that, considering they could just keep it stuck until close. They stalled again. 6900.25 stalling again here at 6900 off that 150 stick. Just want to see what this candle looks like. These points in time are essentially odds for same thing, resetting, similar to what they did around 128, 130, 1254, 1259. Every time they stall this 6900.25, it seems to give a massive reduction in range. So what do you guys think? Where do you think they reset it now for 159? What do you guys think? Come on. So I would say that if they can take out 6900.25 by this 154, 155 window, they could have a decent odd of getting a better close this time, maybe closer to like 6900.25, 6901.25, 6902, 6903, maybe closer to this range in here. At the very least, I would like to see them close above 99 this time. Okay. Does that make sense? So if they take out this range here, then we have a way better odd of getting a better structural close this time. And it's pretty important that they do now, just because we're approaching the final 2 hours of the session. So let's see. 154 retesting 6900.25 here. We'll see if we can get some structure breaks. This is a pretty big overhead this afternoon. $69.03.75. Yeah, I feel like that's relative to them closing over 900.25. Ideally around this point in time. I don't know if we'll get that, but we'll see. Oops. Sorry guys, this isn't really an entertaining session. It's just what the dynamics are of the market right now, so there's not really much we can do other than sit and watch and try our best to make sure that we're tracking this properly. What's the most important thing that you could do today in terms of the index or in general for trading if you didn't take on much risk? So I would say with a 6900.25 retest at 5.4, but stall at 5.5 and no close above this range, they're probably still limiting this to this area here before 2 o'clock. Apple is. Where is our Apple chart? I don't know where my template is on Apple. Anyone else want to take a stab at where they'll pin this for 59? This area seems the most likely, just based on how they've been trading this during this past hour, but there is something that's progressive that's happened during this 1 to 2 p.m. period. What is it? What's one thing that they actually did do this time that they didn't do the previous times? What did they do here during this period? Yeah, they actually broke it. So they didn't clear it, but at least they broke it this time. Okay, so your odds are a little bit better. Yeah, they had higher lows. Okay, so we have pretty good odds of getting a better structural close. Okay. Where did they close the 1259? They really have to try negating some of this risk here, especially on that reduction stick of 58. So see if they can hold off this 9394. And at the very least, try getting back over this 98, 97.75. So far, it doesn't really look like they're resetting odds that great unless they can push the next 10 to 20 seconds. Do you see how calculated this is, though? What do you guys think? You think they push it the final few seconds, or you think they're going to keep this stuck? Quickly. 5 seconds. They're trying. They took it right back to 98.25. Does that progress us at all for this period? Wow, they're really just going to kill premiums this afternoon. I can't believe they took it right back to 98.25. The exact spot at the exact second just to basically buy us another hour of time. I think I might end the stream, you guys, because I feel like if I sit here for another hour watching a 10 to 12 point range, I'm probably just going to manage my own positions. Yeah, it's too cold here to go for a walk, but freaking freezing outside. Well, the good thing is like usually around the 218, 224, you know, 230, 38, like usually we get good volatility. Remember the stick that we had yesterday at 235? So just watch for that anyway, because it could still be correlated to yesterday's PA. And that was that big sell-off stick that we had. But 68, 98.25 close again. It's enough to keep our odds in play to get these retest here, but it doesn't change the fact that we could still be at risk of 8-8. So it just basically bought us another hour until 3. And honestly, that makes sense because they want to pin the close. They want to wait until end of session today before mega cap earnings report. So that usually just means a lot of back and forth. So we could see more of this. I would still imagine though that the next hour and 25 minutes would be maybe a little bit more increased volatility just because now we're starting to run a little bit short on time, but I wouldn't have very high expectations. Yeah, I was trying to pull up my Apple chart and I couldn't find it. I don't know what happened to it. Where is my Apple chart? Maybe it's... Ah, okay, here it is. So, Apple, I know, reached like this 272 range. I think we were saying on Apple this could get to 282. Especially if it holds this range here into week of earnings, which it is, this 264. Do you see it? So right now it's kind of just crossing over between these 2 points. And I think in real time right now, you see how it's kind of stuck right here? So maybe if it gets back over 272 into the close, this is probably the same thing as like ES's 69.05 wall. I think Apple could easily get to 282. Downside support is closer to 262. 258.20 is a huge core area on Apple, this area here. So on downside, that would be the range. On upside, I'd be looking for like 282. I think it has pretty good odds of getting there. Amazon, where's my Amazon chart? Oh, okay. Amazon stalled 233.47. I think Amazon we were looking for 244. Well, let me just double check this one because this was more of a calculated play. I don't remember 14.45, 14.45, hold on, 14.445. This is the range we could work with, I think. So maybe I wonder what 14.45 nets from today's lows. Maybe mark that on your charts and then mark it off the opening range. 12, what is it? 5? 240. That would make sense because that would be like basically a retest of all-time highs, right? And then off like here, it should be linked to what is that? 241.52 or so. I think it's 51 actually. And then off the high range 228.44. That's the one mega cap healthcare play that I forgot about this morning. I was like, there's one more, and I just couldn't remember what it was. mRNA. That's what I was trying to remember this morning. Thank you, Brendan. I literally looked at every single one except for that one. I was like, there's one more that I never pulled up, and I couldn't remember what it was. Okay, so I'd probably use these ranges here on Amazon. I don't know if we'd have some extensions to like 247, but I feel like this one has to get back over this 233 overhead. This would be the bigger extension, but probably closer to like these areas here is what we could watch for. ES getting a breakdown back beneath 286.88. And right around that 207 time frame. So risk still stays on pretty heavy for the index as they stalled 05 and still couldn't get back over this 99 before 2, which keeps risk on but also can still keep us sideways. So we'll see if they end up holding. I think I'm going to shut off the stream and I'll just come back the last half hour of the session or something, because we could definitely come back and retest lows, like that's still a probability, but I feel like if they're going to keep this sideways, they could easily just hold the line in this area that we talked about. Like there's some support around 7.9, 7.8. If that's the case, then they're going to limit us to the 14 and 12 area in real time today if they took it back here. But for the most part, I still think they're going to keep this quite sideways. So I'll be back in like an hour, okay? Thanks guys for watching.